Life has a way of giving us signals, little nudges, quiet whispers, and sometimes loud alarms that tell us something isn't quite right. But among all the signs that indicate a need for change, the very first, the most fundamental, and often the most ignored, is discontent. Discontent is not just a passing mood, a temporary frustration, or an inconvenient feeling that you can shove aside. It is a deep internal message that something in your life is no longer aligned with your growth, your values, or your vision for the future. It is life's first warning sign that a shift is necessary, and if ignored for too long, it becomes a burden that only grows heavier with time. But let's break this down and understand it on a deeper level. Because not all discomfort is bad and not all contentment is good. If we fail to recognize the true nature of our discontent, we risk either staying stuck in an unfulfilling situation or making impulsive, misguided changes that don't actually solve the root problem. So, how do we recognize discontent for what it really is? How do we differentiate between a fleeting frustration and a true call for transformation? And most importantly, how do we respond to it in a way that leads to growth rather than stagnation? The difference between temporary discomfort and true discontent. Before we act on any feeling of dissatisfaction, we must understand where it is coming from. Not all frustration means you need to uproot your life. Sometimes discomfort is just part of the process of growth. Pushing through a tough workout, struggling with a new skill, or dealing with short-term setbacks. These all come with frustration, but they don't necessarily mean you are on the wrong path. In fact, discomfort in those cases often means you are exactly where you need to be. True discontent, however, is different. It's not just frustration from effort, it's a deep, lingering sense of misalignment. It doesn't come and go with the challenges of the day. It stays. It follows you home, it creeps into your thoughts, and it lingers in your quiet moments. It's the sigh you let out after work, the pit in your stomach when you wake up in the morning, the restless feeling that no amount of entertainment, distraction, or temporary pleasure can fully erase. It's your intuition telling you that you are not living the life you are meant to live. The physical and emotional toll of ignored discontent. One of the most overlooked aspects of prolonged discontent is the toll it takes on both your physical and mental well-being. When you continuously suppress feelings of dissatisfaction, your body and mind start to react in ways you may not immediately associate with the real problem. Stress, fatigue, irritability, these are often signs of an unfulfilled life, not just an overbooked schedule. You might find yourself experiencing headaches, difficulty sleeping, or a lack of motivation even for things you once enjoyed. Your energy levels drop, and no matter how much rest you get, you still feel exhausted. Why? Because carrying unspoken, unresolved discontent is one of the heaviest burdens a person can bear. Your emotions begin to change as well. You might notice a growing sense of resentment toward your job, your relationships, even yourself. You may feel trapped, as if life is just happening to you rather than being something you are actively shaping. In extreme cases, prolonged discontent can lead to anxiety, depression, and a sense of hopelessness, all because an internal warning signal was ignored for too long. How people respond to discontent, the right and wrong approaches. When faced with discontent, people typically respond in one of three ways. They ignore it, they numb it, or they embrace it as a catalyst for change. 0.1. Ignoring discontent. This is the most common response. People tell themselves, it's not that bad, or I should be grateful for what I have. They convince themselves that their feelings are invalid, that they're just being ungrateful or overthinking. But here's the thing, ignoring discontent doesn't make it go away, it only makes it stronger. It builds up over time until one day it reaches a breaking point. Some people endure years, even decades of discontent before they finally admit something needs to change. By then they have lost precious time they could have spent building the life they truly wanted. 0.2% numbing, discontent. This response is equally common and even more dangerous. Instead of facing their dissatisfaction head-on, people look for ways to drown it out. They overwork themselves, bury themselves in distractions, or turn to temporary pleasures. Alcohol, food, entertainment, shopping, social media, anything to escape the feeling that something is off. The problem? These distractions don't fix the underlying issue. They only create a false sense of relief that disappears the moment the distraction fades. Over time, numbing discontent leads to unhealthy habits, deeper dissatisfaction, and an even greater sense of emptiness.
3, using discontent as a catalyst for change. This is the response that leads to growth. Instead of ignoring or numbing their feelings, people who embrace discontent as a signal for change use it as motivation. They ask themselves the hard questions. Why do I feel this way? What part of my life is no longer serving me? What steps can I take to change it? Rather than seeing discontent as a problem, they see it as an opportunity, a chance to realign their life with their values, their goals, and their true potential. They don't wait for circumstances to change. They take action. They explore new paths, make necessary adjustments, and create a future where discontent is replaced with fulfillment. Conclusion: the power of listening to your discontent. Discontent is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is the first whisper of change before life starts shouting. It is the signal that tells you something needs to shift long before things become unbearable. The sooner you listen, the sooner you can take control of your life's direction. Ignoring discontent keeps you trapped. Numbing it keeps you distracted. But embracing it, that's where transformation begins. Habits shape our lives in ways we often don't even realize. Every day, from the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed, we are following patterns, routines, behaviors, and automatic responses that dictate the course of our days, weeks, and ultimately our entire lives. Some habits propel us forward, bringing us closer to our goals, while others keep us stuck, holding us back from the life we truly desire. But here's the hard truth. Not all habits are meant to last forever. Some habits that once helped you may no longer serve you. Some routines that once provided comfort and stability may now be limiting your potential. The challenge isn't just in recognizing this, it's in having the courage to change how habits are formed and why they become invisible. Habits are built through repetition. When we do something over and over again, our brain creates neural pathways that make the action automatic. In the beginning, we have to think about it, but over time, it becomes second nature. This is why you don't have to remind yourself to brush your teeth in the morning or check your phone the moment you wake up. It's automatic. The problem is that not all habits are good. Some habits may have started with a positive purpose, but have outlived their usefulness. Others may have been developed as coping mechanisms, ways to deal with stress, uncertainty, or fear, but instead of helping you, they now hold you back. And because habits become automatic, we rarely stop to question whether they are still serving us. We just keep doing them because that's what we've always done. The silent trap of outdated habits. The most dangerous habits aren't necessarily the obviously bad ones. Sure, things like smoking, procrastination, or poor diet choices are easy to identify as destructive. But what about the habits that feel harmless? The routines that seem the ones that don't necessarily feel like they're causing damage, but are slowly draining your potential? Waking up late because you work best at night, but feeling exhausted every morning. Spending hours scrolling on your phone, not because you want to, but because it's a habit. Saying yes to every request, not because you've always been the person who helps. Sticking to the same circle of friends, not because they inspire you, but because it's comfortable. Working a job you dislike, not because you love it, but because it's what you know. These habits don't necessarily seem destructive at first glance, but over time, they become a silent trap, keeping you exactly where you are, preventing you from evolving into who you could be. The comfort zone illusion, one of the biggest reasons people hold on to habits that no longer serve them is even if a habit is no longer useful, even if it's actively working against you, it still provides certainty, and human beings crave certainty. We like knowing what to expect. The idea of changing a habit means stepping into uncertainty. It means disrupting a familiar pattern, breaking an automatic response, and entering unfamiliar territory. And that's uncomfortable. That's why so many people stay in cycles that don't fulfill them. Because as frustrating as those cycles may be, they are predictable. But predictability doesn't equal progress. If your habits keep you in the same place year after year, then the comfort they provide is an illusion. Growth requires discomfort. Breaking a habit requires disruption. And sometimes the only way to move forward is to be willing to let go of the things that feel familiar but no longer serve your future. Signs that your habits are holding you back. If you want to know whether your habits are still serving you, ask yourself these questions. Do my current habits bring me closer to my goals, or am I just maintaining the status quo? Do I feel energized and motivated by my daily routines, or do they leave me feeling drained? Have I outgrown the person I was when I first formed these habits? Am I holding on to certain habits out of comfort rather than purpose? If I keep following these habits for the next 5 years, will I be happy with where they take me? If any of these questions make you pause, it's a sign that some of your habits may need to change. Because habits are not just behaviors, they are choices you make every day, consciously or unconsciously. And those choices shape your future. The challenge of breaking old habits. Changing a habit is not easy. The brain is wired to resist change because it prefers efficiency, doing what it already knows how to do. That's why breaking a habit often feels uncomfortable at first. It's why waking up early feels exhausting when you're used to staying up late. It's why exercising feels like a chore when your body is used to inactivity. It's why saying no feels unnatural when you've spent years saying yes. But discomfort doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you're breaking free from autopilot. It means you're reprogramming your mind for something better. And once you push through the initial resistance, the new habit becomes the new normal, just like the old one was. The cost of keeping habits that no longer serve you. Every habit has a cost. The question is whether that cost is leading you to growth or keeping you stagnant. The habit of procrastination costs you opportunities. The habit of overcommitting costs you peace of mind. The habit of negative self-talk costs you confidence. The habit of avoiding discomfort costs you growth. The habit of staying in the familiar costs you the life you could have had. Habits are powerful. They can either be your greatest tool or your biggest obstacle. And the only way to take control of your future is to take control of your habits. Because whether you realize it or not, they are shaping your life every single day.
Environment is one of the most powerful yet underestimated forces shaping our lives. It influences our thoughts, emotions, energy, and ultimately the decisions we make. Yet many people remain in environments that no longer serve their growth, not because they want to, but because they don't realize the full impact their surroundings have on them. The truth is, your environment is either pushing you forward or holding you back. There is no in between. It is either fueling your inspiration or draining your motivation. It is either expanding your possibilities or limiting your potential. And when your environment no longer inspires you, it's one of the clearest signs that something in your life needs to change. The hidden power of your environment. Most people assume that their success is determined by their talent, intelligence, or hard work. While these factors certainly matter, they are not the full picture. Studies in psychology and personal development have repeatedly shown that our surroundings shape our habits, our mindset, and even our self-identity. Think about it. Why do people in certain cities, industries, or social circles seem to achieve success more easily? Why do some individuals thrive in high-energy environments while others struggle in negativity? It's because the people, places, and energies around them create an invisible force that either supports their progress or reinforces their stagnation. Your environment influences your mindset. The conversations you hear, the ideas you are exposed to, and the energy around you determine whether you think expansively or remain stuck in limiting beliefs. Your habits. Your daily actions are shaped by your surroundings. If you're in a space that promotes discipline and creativity, you'll develop those traits naturally. If you're surrounded by distractions and negativity, those patterns will become your norm. Your emotions. Have you ever noticed how certain places or people make you feel either energized or exhausted? That's because your environment directly affects your emotional state. Many people don't realize this because change happens gradually. What once felt like an inspiring environment may now feel dull, restrictive, or even toxic. But since the decline was slow, they've adapted rather than taking action to change it. Signs that your environment is holding you back. How do you know when your environment is no longer inspiring you? The signs are often subtle, but unmistakable when you take a closer look. Here are some key indicators. You no longer feel excited or motivated in your surroundings. Your environment should make you feel alive. It should spark new ideas, encourage growth, and energize you. But when you wake up feeling uninspired, whether it's because of the people, the place, or the routine, you are in an environment that is stagnant rather than stimulating. The people around you are not growing. The people you spend time with play a massive role in your success. If those around you are stuck in the past, making excuses or settling for mediocrity, their mindset will start to influence yours. Growth-minded individuals seek out challenges, embrace change, and push each other forward. If your circle doesn't reflect that, you may be outgrowing your current environment. Your energy feels drained instead of replenished. Some places make you feel lighter, happier, and more creative. Others make you feel drained, exhausted, or even anxious. This isn't random. It's a direct result of the energy in that environment. If you feel like your energy is constantly being depleted, it's a clear sign that your surroundings are working against you rather than for you. You've stopped being challenged or inspired. Growth comes from challenge, stimulation, and exposure to new ideas. If your environment no longer pushes you to think bigger, dream bolder, or take action, you may have outgrown it. Comfort can be a silent killer of progress. If you're too comfortable, you're not evolving. You find yourself daydreaming about a different life. If you constantly imagine yourself in a different place, surrounded by different people, or engaged in different activities, your mind is signaling that you're not where you're supposed to be. Those thoughts aren't meaningless. They are internal indicators that change is needed. The role of physical versus social environment. Your environment isn't just the physical space you occupy. It's also the people, conversations, and energy around you. While a cluttered, uninspiring physical space can make you feel stuck, an uninspiring social environment can be even more limiting. Your physical space, the design, organization, and energy of your home, workplace, or city have a direct impact on your mood and productivity. A messy, chaotic space can create mental clutter, while a clean, uplifting space can improve focus and creativity. Your social environment, the people around you, can either fuel your ambitions or drain your enthusiasm. Are the people in your life supportive? Do they encourage growth? Or do they resist change, discourage new ideas, and keep you in the same patterns? Your social circle is especially important. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." If the people around you are negative, uninspired, or resistant to change, you will naturally absorb their energy and mindset. But if you surround yourself with driven, positive, and growth-oriented people, their energy will push you to become better. How to shift your environment for growth. If you recognize that your environment is no longer inspiring you, it's time to make a change. But change doesn't always mean a dramatic move. It can start with small, intentional shifts. Redesign your space. A cluttered, uninspiring environment leads to a cluttered, uninspired mind. Whether it's your home, office, or creative space, making simple changes like adding natural light, organizing your space, or surrounding yourself with inspiring visuals can have a profound impact on your mindset. Seek out new people. If your current social circle doesn't challenge you, start surrounding yourself with people who do. Attend events, join communities, or engage with mentors who reflect the growth you want to experience. Change your routine. Sometimes inspiration isn't about changing your physical space. It's about changing how you interact with it. Try working in a new location, taking a different route, or incorporating new activities into your day to break out of autopilot mode. Limit exposure to negativity. If certain places or people constantly drain your energy, start creating boundaries. This doesn't mean cutting people off completely, but it does mean prioritizing environments that elevate you rather than deplete you. Expose yourself to new ideas. Read books, listen to podcasts, travel, or engage in conversations that challenge your thinking. Inspiration comes from new perspectives and experiences. Your environment should be a reflection of your highest potential, not a reminder of your limitations. It should inspire you to think bigger, push further, and become more. The moment you recognize that your surroundings are no longer fueling your growth, you have two choices: stay stagnant or take action. And action is always the first step toward transformation. There is a voice inside you, one that has been speaking to you for as long as you can remember. It is quiet at times, merely a whisper, but it never truly disappears. Other times it grows louder, almost impossible to ignore. This voice is not random, and it is not meaningless. It is your intuition, your inner guidance, your deepest knowing. And yet many people spend their entire lives dismissing it, silencing it, pushing it aside in favor of logic, societal expectations, or fear of the unknown. The question is, why? Why do we ignore the one voice that truly knows what we need? Why do we push down those persistent feelings, those gut instincts, those quiet but unmistakable nudges that tell us something isn't right or that something needs to change? Why do we continue down paths we know deep inside are wrong for us, waiting for some external permission to do what we already know we must? Ignoring this voice may feel convenient in the moment, but over time, it leads to discontent, frustration, and a deep sense of misalignment. You feel it in your gut. You feel it in the heaviness of your days, the lack of excitement in your routines, and the subtle but undeniable feeling that you are meant for more, but you are standing in your own way. The inner voice versus the noise of the world. One of the biggest reasons people ignore their inner voice is because the world is loud. Society, culture, family, friends, social media, all of it creates an endless stream of opinions, expectations, and distractions. This external noise often drowns out our intuition, making it difficult to hear what we truly want. From an early age, we are conditioned to seek external validation rather than internal wisdom. We are taught to listen to authority figures, to follow prescribed paths, to make safe and practical choices rather than intuitive ones. The result? We lose trust in ourselves. Instead of listening to our inner voice, we follow career paths that look good on paper but feel empty inside, stay in relationships that no longer fulfill us because we fear being alone, surround ourselves with people who drain us because we don't want to disappoint them, seek creative passions because they don't seem realistic, stay in familiar routines because change feels uncomfortable even when we know we need it. Every time we ignore that voice, we reinforce the idea that our inner guidance is unimportant or unreliable. But deep down, we know the truth. Because that voice never goes away. It may be buried under responsibilities, expectations, and distractions, but it is always there, waiting for us to listen. Sins that you are ignoring your inner voice. How do you know if you've been ignoring your intuition? The signs are often subtle at first, but over time they become impossible to overlook. A persistent feeling of discomfort or restlessness. Have you ever had the feeling that something is off, even when everything seems fine on the surface? Maybe your job provides financial security, but you feel drained every day. Maybe your relationship looks perfect to others, but deep inside you feel unfulfilled. This persistent feeling of unease, restlessness, or dissatisfaction is a clear sign that your inner voice is speaking and you are not listening. A lack of excitement or passion. Life should not feel like a constant cycle of monotony. While responsibilities are a part of life, you should still feel excited, inspired, and passionate about at least some aspects of your daily experience. If you wake up every morning feeling indifferent, uninspired, or numb, it's likely because your soul is craving something different. Something your inner voice has already pointed toward, but you have ignored. Seeking distractions when we don't want to face our inner truth, we often seek external distractions to avoid it. This could look like mindlessly scrolling through social media for hours, overworking to the point of exhaustion, constantly filling free time with noise, TV, podcasts, endless busyness. So there's no silence to reflect, numbing. Emotions with food, alcohol, or other habits that serve as temporary escapes. These distractions provide temporary relief but do nothing to address the real issue. You are avoiding what your inner voice is trying to tell you. Feeling trapped or stuck? If you feel stuck in a situation, whether it's a job, a relationship, a city, or a lifestyle, it's often because your inner voice has been nudging you toward change, but you haven't acted on it. The longer you resist, the more trapped you feel. That feeling of being stuck is not a coincidence. It is a sign that you are living out of alignment with your true desires. Regret and what-if thinking. Do you ever find yourself thinking, what if I had taken that opportunity, or what if I had followed my passion instead? If you frequently dwell on what could have been, it's because there is a part of you that knows you had an inner knowing, but ignored it. The good news? It is never too late to listen. Why do we ignore this voice when it is clearly trying to help us? The answer is simple: fear. Fear of change, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of stepping into the unknown. The mind craves certainty and predictability, even if it means staying in situations that don't serve us. We tell ourselves, maybe things will get better, or it's not that bad, or I should just be grateful, but deep down, we know better. The cost of ignoring your inner voice is a life of regret. A life spent wondering what could have been if you had just trusted yourself. A life where you are constantly waiting for the right time to make a change, only to realize years later that the right time was the moment you first heard that voice. Reconnecting with your inner voice. If you have been ignoring your intuition, the good news is that it is never too late to start listening again. The voice inside you has not abandoned you. It is just waiting for you to pay attention. Create stillness. The inner voice does not shout, it whispers. If your life is filled with constant noise, distractions, and busyness, you will struggle to hear it. Make time for silence, reflection, and solitude. Pay attention to recurring thoughts, emotions, and gut feelings. If the same thought keeps returning, no matter how much you try to push it away, it's not random. Trust small decisions first. Start by listening to your intuition in small ways. What do you feel drawn to? What does your gut say about simple choices? The more you trust it in small moments, the more confident you will become in bigger decisions. Let go of fear-based thinking. Ask yourself, am I making this decision out of intuition or out of fear? Fear keeps you stuck. Intuition pulls you forward. Take one bold step. Your inner voice does not guide you for no reason. If you've been hearing the same message over and over, take action, no matter how small, because when you finally stop ignoring the voice inside you, you will realize it was never wrong.